Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit TRE.radio.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
It is Tuesday, the 2nd of January, 2026. You're listening to Viewpoint, Talk Radio Europe's current affairs programme with invited guests where we discuss the issues of the day. First one of 2026. Let's see if we can start off if we mean to go on. Obviously, the main story, because we weren't going to have a Viewpoint this early into, because it's a bank holiday here in Spain, it being Reyes. But obviously the events over the weekend in Venezuela and the political fallout since then and the geopolitical aspects of this. Trump making noises about Greenland, for example, about Colombia, about Mexico, what that means for other nations, what it means for other great powers, spheres of influence. Does this mean Russia can continue a campaign in Ukraine? Oh, because they can say, well, look what you did. Is China now thinking, well, I might as well take Taiwan if the States can bring in regime change? Is NATO now looking at a situation where they are caught between a rock and a very hard place? What's their response to? What are the Danes going to do if Trump decides to annex Greenland? All these throwing up in the air. And plus, we can have what you want to talk about. What you want to talk about, it can be national, international, or even local. Should you wish to get involved with this, the first Viewpoint of 2026. These are the numbers.
TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
But let's see what's making the front pages first off today. Looking obviously dominated by the appearance yesterday in New York Venezuelan president, or former Venezuelan president now, Maduro. And that leads with all the front pages this morning. Pictures of a handcuffed Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, being taken to court in New York are on several front pages. The Times says he was defiant. The Daily Telegraph says her lawyer has asked that she be given an X-ray because she'd suffered significant injuries during her arrest. Financial Times reports that Venezuelan bonds and shares in American oil companies have risen sharply in response to Maduro's removal and Trump's announcement there'd be significant investment in oil infrastructure. The paper says Venezuela's government bonds in default since 2017 have jumped from 33 cents on the dollar to 42 cents. Tyrant captured by lunatic is the Daily Mirror's take, which has the headline Mad Men. In an editorial, the paper says a new reality of vast continental spheres of influence ruled by strongmen has taken over from the old days of the international rule of law. The article concludes, it's frustrating, degrading and nauseating to be subservient to gunslinger Trump, but Sir Keir Starmer has no option but to stay on side for now. According to the Daily Mail, the Prime Minister risks a rift with the US President by backing Denmark, which is resisting Trump's plans to annex Greenland. The paper says it's been told by a UK defence source that there's a 30% chance that Donald Trump would try and take the territory. The Daily Express warns that millions of us are risking our health by eating too much salt. It highlights an analysis by the British Heart Foundation, which has found that the average working-age person in Britain eats 8.4 grams of salt a day. That's 40% more than the recommended daily intake. The paper says most of it is hidden in foods such as bread, cereals, and ready meals. And finally, The Sun says the football manager, Ruben Amorim, was laughing all the way to the bank after he was sacked by Man United on Monday. The paper says he's cost the Red Devils £30 million in pay and compensation paid to his old club, Sporting Lisbon, taking inspiration from the song That's Amore. Yeah? Okay? The headline reads, when your trophies are nil and you've cost 30 mil, that's Amorim. Yes, indeed. So those front pages again from the top today. I'm a prisoner of war, Daily Telegraph. Maduro insists he's an innocent man as Venezuela's former president and wife appear in a New York court. The Times, defiant Maduro tells US court, I'm a prisoner of war. The Guardian, Maduro says he's a prisoner of war and denies all charges in a US court. Investors profit as Maduro faces court. That's the FT. The Metro asked the question, after Trump's Venezuela takeover, who's next? Daily Mail. Greenland raid will finish NATO. Trump is warned. Starmer risks a rift with the US president by backing Danish PM. Tyrant captured by lunatic. Daily Mirror. Mad Men. Starmer says we stand with Denmark as US leader eyes Greenland. Independent. Cuffed but defiant. Maduro faces US justice. The Sun, as we said before, leads with when your trophies are nil and you've cost 30 mil. That's Amorim. Daily Star, Man Baby United. A photo of Trump in a Manchester United training jacket is splashed across the Daily Star's front. The club are dubbed Man Baby United as the paper asks to make Red Devils great again. Trust the Star to go off on something a trifle left field, and those are your headlines on this Tuesday, the 6th of January.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo. Claudio Torre is on his way in, I believe. Good morning. Happy New Year, Andres.
Happy New Year, Giles. When is cut off for Happy New Year? It's the 6th day, end of the week?
I think, yeah.
Okay, in that case, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all the listeners as well.
It's only Tuesday. It's the first time we've done Viewpoint. I said before we weren't going to have. And how was your New Year? Are you looking forward to 2026?
2026 has started very strongly. But yeah, with good Christmas, good New Year.
Yeah.
Looking forward to 26. Quite shocked by all the latest events around the world.
Are you Bill? Morning to Richard. Said New Year, same old hacks. Thank you so much. Let's start as we mean to continue, Richard? Ha. Right then, sorry. That's my New Year resolution. So therefore, yeah, other channels are available. Right then, have you built a bunker in the backyard yet?
I'm just about to start building it.
Richard says, what's happy about the new year? We're about to start into World War III.
Yeah.
Well, make the most of it while you can.
I don't think it's as bad as that, but it's incredible. In 3 days, what we've seen in Venezuela is quite unbelievable how opinions have shifted, and so many opinions are out there in favor, against, in the middle, everything. So to be able to form an opinion on something like this, you have to strip it to the bare bones.
But here's the thing, Andres, my good friend. The thing is, right, we're blessed to live here in Spain, okay, in international communities, up and down through wherever you're listening in the TRE universe. And we have lots of friends from South America. We know lots of Colombians, we know lots of Venezuelans who fled the Chavez dictatorship.
8 million of them.
Exactly. And also, we're Cubans, etc., etc. So we perhaps have the luxury or a certain viewpoint that perhaps those other places of the world don't really have, in Europe at least. Because a lot of my Venezuelan friends have been saying this is wonderful news, I can go back to the country, we've got land there, the whole thing. So it's not a case of Yankee imperialism strikes again.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to see the celebrations you had outside the Venezuelan embassy in Madrid. There's 250,000 Venezuelans that live in Madrid. All exiled from the country, wanting to go back. They can't because they've been in the opposition and they made they're vocal against the regime. The regime of Maduro started with Chavez. They've been in power for 26 years. 26 years.
Yeah.
And they call themselves a democracy. That's a joke. They've been tyrants, both first Chavez, then Maduro. They've exfoliated the country from the natural resources, a country that should be rich on many levels, mainly oil, of course. But there's industries that they haven't been developed because these people, they're only interested in serving themselves. They've created a pyramid of corruption there where the politicians and the circle, they're at the top of the pyramid. They've got the army who supports them and protects them, and the civil servants and the justice system below to control that pyramid of corruption. They've been brutal with the people. You've got political prisoners, you've got tortured people, you've got impoverished population.
Yeah.
So my first reaction when I saw that Maduro had been taken by the special forces in Caracas was good. About time. He deserves it. Now, the events after that, they are the ones that really, really surprised me, because you would think that he would be in favor of getting the rightly winners of the latest elections in 2024 to power. They won the election fair and square. Maduro denied it. He said that, sort of tricked the election into telling the people that he had won when he hadn't. And that's a fact. That's an objective sort of look at it. He lost the election but remained in power. So you would think that by removing Maduro, that would mean, naturally, that the opposition would be the ones giving the legitimate power. But that hasn't been the case. Trump has decided he's going to run the show, but he's going to run the show with the current structure that is in place, where this awful woman who's the vice president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, with very nasty links with the Socialist Party in Spain and the Communist Party in Spain as well. This nasty woman, she's been giving the charge of head of state. She was vice president, so under their constitution, that was the natural transition. So Trump only has mentioned oil in his appearances. There's no talk of change to democracy. There's no talk about the supporting the opposition. There is no talk about releasing political prisoners. There is no talk about making
everything democracy, etc., etc.
So all he's interested in oil. We said that in this program months ago.
We did,
and we said, look, they're only interested in the oil. They've created this charge on drug trafficking that, it could be the case, but that's not the worst crime that Maduro has committed. Maybe they had to do that because under the American legal system, that's something that they could charge him with, like they did with Noriega, which that's the precedent that they are basing the legalities is on the case of Noriega. I think it was in 1989.
1989 it was, yeah. That was after the
and
killing
he was
of an
tried
American
for
same thing.
laundering drug money and everything. So that they had that legal precedent. So there's some jurisprudence on that kind of thing. So they had to cover the legality that way. I mean, a bit weak, if you ask me. And then you've had the international reaction to say this is an illegal operation. Well, technically, yes, it is. You can't go into a sovereign country, remove the leader. But, if we focus on Venezuela, only in Venezuela, let's not, we go to geopolitics later, but if you concentrate on Venezuela, I said, well, that's not such a bad thing. He's a tyrant. He's a guy who's making the population suffer. His country is on its knees. There is no pharmaceutical goods. There's, just lack of food. Inflation is through the roof. It's just a total disaster. So something had to be done. Now, the problem is that if you allow this to happen in international law and disregard international law as such, where does this stop? Is this creating a precedent for this to be done elsewhere? And that's where the problem we are faced now today, 3 days after the event. So it's a difficult situation because you've got situations around the world like Taiwan, you've got
Ukraine, etc.
Ukraine is an example. I was going to mention Gibraltar, but I won't.
Let's not mention Gibraltar just yet. But the thing is,
sorry, that was a joke.
I know, but but I mean, hey, you say it's a joke, but these are interesting times to live in.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine Sanchez going into Gibraltar and taking Picardo on handcuffs,
throwing in the back of a Seat Leon and taking to Moncloa?
But on a serious note, this is is this a situation where this creating a precedent? Now, the other thing that is interesting is that the opposition. In a way, I can understand that
the Venezuelan opposition or the
Venezuelan opposition have been quite agreeable to what Trump is doing in terms of leaving the current system in place. I can understand in a way that if they want to do a transition to a full-grown democracy, they can't do it overnight because you've got the army to deal with. That's.
So.
The army is still loyal to the system. You can't just go there.
Yeah, loyalty to the system, because they obviously have made a shed load, and that's technical, of money out of these. It's not Maduro, getting a couple of bags of finest Colombian flake out the back. This is a huge operation.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, the couple of bits, so they are not going to want to go quietly. Perhaps the Americans have learned something about regime change, quote unquote, from Iraq, where they dismantled the police force, the army, the whole thing, and the whole area descended into chaos because they didn't have a system then to run the country, and it became various bands of roving warlords. Same in Libya, which is still a complete pot. So.
But if you want a sustainable kind of change in a country, I'm going to use the example of Spain. If in 1975 the leader of the Communist Party was appointed prime minister the day after Franco died, this would have been a disaster, because the army would have turned round and there would have been another civil war. And I think by Trump doing what he's doing, is just keeping the regime in place. I'd like to think it's to avoid a civil war and have a long-term process that will end up in a full-grown democracy. However, by what he's saying, Trump is only focused on the oil and investment there, and not interested in any kind of process to. In the old wars, the United States, they always used to go there and say, "Oh, what we want is freedom for these people, so they have their own voice and they can have elections and everything else." But with Trump, you don't get that rhetoric. Trump goes straight to the business side of things. He said, "I want to control the oil." Because
that is the only thing. He doesn't want to understand the politics. He understands the business thing here. And the thing with Rodriguez, if she keeps her head down and is relatively subservient and lets the Americans get their hand on the oil, he wants to rejig the sadly neglected oil infrastructure for Americans. Now, the thing with that is a long-term project. They're not going to flick a switch and suddenly this high-grade petroleum is going to be going into American coffers. But they're not interested in helping the plight of the average Venezuelan, because obviously they would have put the winner of the elections back.
It doesn't seem that way. It seems to be all more based on geoeconomics and geopolitics, because don't forget, the Venezuelan government has been supported by Iran
and China and Russia.
And don't forget, the 90% of the production of oil in Venezuela goes to China.
Yeah.
So Trump has seen that situation in his backyard, because don't forget, Venezuela is a Caribbean country.
And this gets back to the Monroe Doctrine, which is obviously saying that the European, i.e. other nations, shouldn't get involved with what the Americans will see as their backyard, i.e. Central and South American and the Caribbean. And Greenland.
Yeah, exactly. So, you could say, well, Cuba is the same. They haven't done the same with Cuba, but Cuba is a country that it hasn't got the economic power of Venezuela. Venezuela is very, very rich. Cuba was only a geographical strategic point, a little bit like Gibraltar and other places around the globe, but it had no economic power. It was an inconvenience for the United States to have Cuba there.
Rockets, it's the whole missile thing, wasn't it? They could launch rockets.
It's been there, and it's been an inconvenience for the United States to the point that nearly generated a nuclear war in the 60s with Kennedy and Khrushchev. All based in the situation in Cuba. But after that, it's just like no more than a nuisance for them.
But here's the thing:
Venezuela is a different animal.
Also, Mario Rubio, the guy who's been front and center.
Yes.
He is the son of Cuban refugees. He has a visceral hatred of communist/socialist regimes. So he wants to see regime change in places like Cuba, obviously, Venezuela, obviously, and Colombia, which is left leaning, and for him that's anathema.
But look, most decent people would recognise that communist regimes have been terrible around history throughout the world. So I'm not surprised that someone doesn't like communist regimes, because can you mention a successful one?
Yeah, but that doesn't give you the carte blanche to go in and start sort of, stomping all over them. Or does it? I mean, is this part of Trump's thing? My sphere of influence. I'm going to have the Western Hemisphere, Putin can have Europe, and the Chinese can have, the other bits, basically, that's going to be... They are seeing this now as the great game, the three great... And all of you were going, oh, it's 1984. This is 1984 because it is those big oaths, the Eurasian, etc.
It could well be the difference between China and Russia and the United States is in the United States, Trump, in 3 years' time, will be out.
You think?
Well,
But then again, in a war, if he says it's in a war situation, like in FDR, he could get a third,
Yeah, in theory, he'll be out. I mean, he could have someone... in place of Trump, who follows the Trump strategy and the Trump plan. Yes, that could happen. But if they get elected, don't forget that there's got to be an election sort of to confirm that. So all this idea that there's going to be these three superpowers, and Trump is helping to create that. In the case of the United States, it has to be followed through by whoever comes next, and there's always in 4 years' time there'll be the next one. Where in Russia and in China, you don't have that problem. You don't have that inconvenience of an election.
952-78-4000 is the phone number. I've got a poll running on Talk Radio Europe Official, which is saying, it's a Facebook page saying, do you think the US elections in Venezuela signify a more aggressive foreign policy, and should Europe and other Central and South American nations be concerned? At the moment, 100% of you are saying yes. So if you want to get yourself involved with that one, let us know. Going to some of the WhatsApps and some of the comments coming in. First of all, Giles, Venezuela. I follow an American oil guy. He's saying US oil companies want to control the oil so far as to slow it down at the moment due to the massive investment in Canada that has a similar grade oil. So it's all about oil and money as usual. This nutter could start World War III. You need sanity, and I'm the restorer of such sanity. Thank you, Richard. Why would anyone return to a country where the regime is still in place and things are about to shut down? Andres, do you enjoy international laws being broken? It's going to be fun. It's going to be run from one dictator to another, staggering that people don't see that. The drug government is null and void when Fat Donny pardons drug traffickers elsewhere. Putin must be laughing his head off. Venezuela is merely asset-rich and less oil extracted, most of which is of the heavy crude variety. Then Venezuela is an impoverished basket case. Should you wish to get involved?
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Those are the numbers to get involved with us. Do you think also this whole thing with Maduro, because he gave an interview to a Spanish journalist literally a few days before he was snatched so dramatically from Caracas, and he was this whole thing about Trump, here I am, I'm in Miraflores, come and get me, and well, as I think as the Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said, faff around and find out. Not those actual words.
It was. I guess by the sound of that interview, I think he knew what was coming. Because he basically stood down and said, "Look, I'll do whatever the United States want me to do." And 2 days later, he got snatched.
I think he might be thinking.
Someone would have told him, "Look, they're coming for you." So you're going to
cut a deal. Surely he would have said, "Look, I'll do this, and if you send me to Dubai or something."
That's what he said in the interview. Yeah. I mean, the Americans would have known, but despite what he said, whether they didn't trust him or the plan was too well advanced for them to stop it or whatever, he got arrested. Delcy, which is the number 2 currently, the sworn yesterday president, she has said the same thing that Maduro said. Look, I'm happy to collaborate with the United States. I'm happy for you to intervene in the country, and will follow your instructions. As I said before, I think this is kind of strategy. One of your comments, someone says, always going from one dictator to the next.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see that, because as I said before, a process into a full-grown democracy might take longer, and you cannot do it overnight.
And into the lines we go. Congratulations, you're the first call of 2026. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Oh, hi. Oh, wow. It's John in Benavista.
Morning, John. How are you, sir?
Very good, and a happy New Year to you and the panel.
You too, John. Right, so you have the floor.
Off and running. Okay. Yeah, just a quickie on the Maduro escapade. I think Trump was absolutely right to do what it was more of a law enforcement thing that he carried out. But I was a bit disappointed, because it was more of a biopsy, removing Maduro and his wife. I mean, he's left sort of the tumour there,
right?
The rest of the regime. So I fear that he's going to have to go in again with something similar.
Well,
I don't know.
The thing is, he's trying to make it this limited operation, because presumably what they don't want to do is get involved in a full-scale... the last time the Americans went in full-scale in that region was Grenada. Do you remember back in the day in the 80s? And that was a small Caribbean island, whereas Venezuela is a rather bigger sort of proposition, an awful lot of... And it's not like desert terrain as you would see in the Gulf. It's jungle. It's inhospitable. You could have a real problem trying to sort of stuff there.
Well, I don't think his intention is to invade Venezuela. Right. I mean, Maduro had to go. I mean, the people are impoverished, and the oil industry has not been run well. I think the idea is right to get in there and run the oil business correctly and stop it going into the hands of the unscrupulous. And have money returned to the people. I mean, I can understand the idea. And Maduro had to be brought to justice. But I think it was just a bit of a half measure, just removing Maduro and his wife. I'd be very interested to see what the next phase is.
I mean, do you think him saying things about, Colombia that's sick, Cuba's sick, Mexico? I mean, to bring your neighbour in like that as well, to say, oh well, Mexico's not much good. I mean, they're supposed to be hosting the World Cup this year, and if he invades Mexico and then flies over Canada and has a pop at Greenland, it's going to be a very interesting sort of semi-final,
While the football teams are travelling in
exactly, if they're not dragged us to Guantanamo when they land,
dodging the bullets, Well, it's all there. It's all going to unfold, isn't it? But I mean, he is right. I mean, Colombia, they're all narco states, and they are feeding the rest of the world with cocaine. And if his idea is to stop this, I mean, it's not a bad idea, but how he goes about it without sort of causing a regional havoc. I mean, if they're isolated and very targeted assaults on the narco, the people running the shows, then it can't be such a bad thing. And the people of these countries, the Venezuelans, they're celebrating. They didn't want Maduro. They wanted Maduro out and his regime. So it's all a bit, I have to wait and see, really.
All right, well,
anyway, thank you for your time. Have a Happy New Year to you all again.
Indeed. Thanks very much for the call in. If you want to get involved with this morning's show, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us @TRE Talk Radio.
Viewpoint with Giles Brown.
Always live. Your first one of 2026. Joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo. Claudia de Torre will be with us to the suite. Getting rid of narco states. Well, it's worked well in Afghanistan. That's on the WhatsApp. Meanwhile, on the On the we got a poll running. Talk Radio official, Talk Radio Europe official. Even, do you think the U.S. actions in Venezuela signify a more aggressive foreign policy, and should Europe and other Central and South American nations be considered? 100% think it is. It is signifying more aggressive foreign policy. We should be concerned. Irene says we should congratulate Donald Trump for stopping the oil laundering service for Putin and the funding of terrorism. Meanwhile, Michael says release the Epstein files. So, I mean, if you want to get, it's the old, look, dead cat bounce, look at that over there. Look, it's a migrant on a small boat or whatever, to keep people away from the real problems. So therefore, also, you can argue, like I said before, Trump takes it personally. These sort of things, he takes these actions personally. So he wanted to remove Maduro because Maduro just got under his rather thin skin, you could say. I suppose that's why he wanted to get rid.
But Maduro has been playing with these rhetoric for many years, and Chavez did it before anyway against the imperialist Americans and blah blah. I mean, nobody's taken much notice of that. The reality is that economically it was very important for the United States to take over, because Venezuela, not only a narco state, but it's a state that it's financed and it's in close links with the other terrorist countries around the world, mainly Iran, and that's something that the Trump wanted to stop. And what was interesting, your previous caller there, is that he started a little bit like I did. Yeah, he was happy that Trump took this guy out of the question because he was a tyrant and deserved so much. But then the doubt starts to play, because you think, okay, well, he's taken the tyrant out, but he's left the regime in place. And that's where everyone is a bit confused to say, I like to think that it's because he doesn't want a civil war in Venezuela and he wants some stability until he's in a position, and the Venezuelans are in a position to go onto a transition period and to make it a full-blown democracy. And then with that in place, Trump can continue, and the United States can continue to have a say in the oil production and the oil business there. Let's not forget that Venezuela, it's the infrastructure in Venezuela is completely underfunded, and there is the industry there is been come to a halt. Let's not forget
they ran out of toilet rolls a while back.
Well, you need a lot of money ploughed into the oil business there to make it efficient. You've got the example of the Spanish companies Repsol were there, and they would nationalised and kicked out and everything. So that is one of the things that Trump will be looking at.
952 78 4000. Morning, call. You're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yes, morning, Giles. It's Gary here.
Morning, Gary.
To you, and Happy New Year to you both.
Happy New Year to you, Gary.
Yes, it is 1984, isn't it? Without a single shred of doubt. It's obviously all about minerals. Your poll, I think, ought to be worded: is it right, and or is it needed? Obviously, Trump couldn't have picked a better time, depending on who you listen to. 82% of the Venezuelan population, I've seen one report, is anti-Maduro. So Trump couldn't have picked a better time, could he? We're expecting problems with China in 3 years' time when they've... I might be correct in saying this. If I remember rightly, my memory fails me. I'm getting on a bit now. But China's supposed to be taking Taiwan by 2029. So Trump is just getting into place. Plus the fact no one's going to play when Trump's in power, and no one's going to play with America in America's backyard, be it the north or the south of any part of the Americas now, as per the Monroe Doctrine. But no, I myself, I think... I don't think it bodes well. I mean, Europe, if you're an American and you're Venezuelan, I should imagine you'd be quite happy this morning. But as for the rest of the world, well, Russia couldn't give a damn about America's special military operation, and China couldn't give a damn anyway. So, no, it's a strange situation.
The only thing that might irk them, Gary, is the oil that they've been receiving from the Venezuelans, especially the Chinese and the Russians. Surely, you know?
Well, maybe that'll get them to the bargaining table. But as I say, the strongest of the three is the Chinese.
Yeah.
His name's evades me at the moment. Is it Xi?
Yes, correct.
He's getting on a bit now, Putin. Trump's got a slight chance of, as I was explaining to someone the other day, a chance of having a third term by becoming vice president, I believe. And then if something happened to the president, then Trump would have to step up. There's nothing against that, so I believe, in the American Constitution. But it's strange times we live in, and not very good ones.
Thank you very much, Gary. And on that note, Happy New Year to you as well, my friend.
Yeah, all the best.
952-784-1000. Hi, Giles. I know I'm repeating myself again, but the war on drugs is A, an objective failure, B, a waste of resources, C, an obvious false flag, except to the naive. I've been fairly neutral on Trump since Trump 2, but last week has made me revert back to believing he's an idiotic fat clown. Okay. Julie, morning to you. It's nothing to do with drugs. Trump has just pardoned one of the world's most notorious drug traffickers, former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. It's all about the oil. Meanwhile, democracy. Donnie doesn't believe in democracies. Russia do give a damn, given it legitimizes their Ukraine war. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very hard to say you can't go in and do regime change because there was no backing from the UN. There was no consultation with Congress. He just went straight into.
Just gone in and done it. I agree with the comments that, I mean, the drug trafficking scenario there is a little bit weak in terms of, I mean, the war on drugs has been happening since whenever it started.
Right,
the 60s and 70s, you got, and they haven't done. And if it's true that it's a question of fighting the drug cartels and everything, you should take Mexico, no Venezuela.
Exactly.
But anyway, it's
952-784-1000 is the phone number. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Morning, Giles. It's Peter.
Morning, Peter. Happy New Year.
Good. Happy New Year. Yeah. Maybe it won't be such a happy one for the rest of the world, but who knows? We've been talking about the legalities of this, and then people keep saying about it's good to have done it, but is it legal? Now, the whole reason, and I think as Andrea said and the other caller said about the fact that you're leaving in another despotic leader whilst you extract one other. But I don't think he has a lot of choice there. If you drill down on it and look into it, and suddenly everybody's an expert on the Monroe Doctrine, aren't they? And the Margarita Island, as you can recall, I was talking about it weeks ago. Exactly, we can see this. Yeah, well, it was coming, wasn't it? You could see it coming. And what people don't realise is when you go in, first of all, he's in New York court. You have the police involved. You have the military involved, you have the CIA involved, you have the FBI involved. To get all those entities together to pull this off is months and months of planning. That's why this doctrine has been talked about. This is what Trump's been trying to do since he came to office. In fact, he's been trying to do it since his last term in office. So this is no surprise for me. And the way I look at it, and this is just my opinion, the reason he's done what he's done, forget the extraction, because it's a what do they call it? Extraordinary rendition. No different than they did to Osama bin Laden. They labelled him a terrorist in 2020, so he can go and snatch anyone from anywhere around the world anytime he wants to. That's what America does to these type of people, and he's done it. But what he's not involving himself in is the politics. So what he's basically saying is, I can't tell you who your leader can be. And as Andrea said, you can't get democracy in 5 minutes. So this is going to take months. And Trump is going to sit back and let the country virtually fail, let these people that he's left in charge fail. So when they do get a democratic vote going and they get up and running, it would all transition a lot smoother. He can't just keep taking who he doesn't like, otherwise we'd all be clapping as he took Starmer away, wouldn't we? So,
my feed was actually full of people sending me, and Rex Leyland in the UK has been bombarding me with why can't you take Starmer memes.
Exactly. That would do us all a favour, wouldn't it? So he can't go around snatching people. But having said that, rules are rules, and we're supposed to have these rules, and people jump up and down. And I've always said on this programme, I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it again, there's no rules in war. So if he did do it off his own bat and he just done it because he felt like it, well, if you're going to war with someone, you do. You know, there's plenty of narcos out there that will snatch your family and snatch people who are not involved. So maybe he's playing their game. But I do believe he's allowing the country to pretty much fail. Then they'll have a decent vote. Someone will come into power who's accepted as by the Venezuelans and the rest of the world. The oil there is all set up for the refineries in Texas. They'll have an oil boom. It's the same type of oil boom, infrastructure boom, same as he's doing around the rest of the world, building data centers and God knows what. So it's not something he's just done on a whim. It's something he knows what he's doing. And talking of slightly precedents, what uneased me was in 26th of February, I think it was 2020, Europe snatched 300 billion off of Putin. Now, that is not supposed to happen. That's against the law. You can't just walk in. You can't just walk in and take the assets of other countries just because you feel like it, just because you think they're not doing right. And he is democratically elected. So Europe takes 300 billion. Not only that, they sit down last week and decide that they're going to divvy it all up and give it to Ukraine to fight Putin's war, which again is illegal. And luckily for us, Belgium turned around and said, okay, 27 countries, you sign a piece of paper saying that when he comes back for his money in the international courts, Belgium aren't on the hook for it. So it shows how illegal that was. You can't have countries just go, otherwise we'd all be investing in Iran and Iraq and getting 15% on our money, wouldn't we? The reason we don't is because we know that it can be snatched at any time. You have to have laws, you have to have regulations, and it seems to me that plenty of people are breaking them at the moment, but Trump's not.
Peter, thanks very much for that, and Happy New Year, and good to get you in the indeed. 952-78-4000. A quick break, and then we're into the last 10 minutes of the first half of Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. First Viewpoint of 2026. Quick look at the poll. Do we think US actions in Venezuela signify a more aggressive foreign policy, and should Europe and other Central and South American countries be concerned? 88% of you say yes, 12% say no. Andres?
Yeah, there's a lot of comments about the legality of everything that's happened and the extraction of Maduro from his palace. I think the Americans, I'm sure it's not Trump, but his advisors have looked into that before they did it, because basically what they are saying to the international community in terms of law is to say, look, he was a wanted criminal. We've extracted the criminal. We haven't interfered in the politics because we left the regime as it is, and we've got a charge on drug trafficking, which affects the American people. So I know it's a whitewash, Giles. Don't look at me like that.
I'm looking at
I understand that, but he's just at least it's made the effort of trying to cover
under
the
American
legal side of things.
No, because it's under American law. It's not under Venezuelan law.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just
attaching people from
Yeah, but they did it with Noriega, and they've gone to other countries to chase wanted terrorists and wanted criminals.
Richard says here, and a good point. Good. That's an entrance, Claudio. Good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
Good. If you can shut the door, there we go. Almost. No, you still got, No. Oh, well, that'll do. Anyway.
There's no one around.
Claudio de la Torre has entered the building like a Venezuela, like a Trump snatch squad. Are you even wearing your camouflage scarf, I see there, Claudio?
I am indeed.
Feliz Año and all that.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Did you have too many caramelos yesterday with the Three Kings? I saw
yes,
you.
Overdose, yeah.
Right. Okay, so these are that's the entrance of the year so far. Peter is deluding himself. Donny's worldview is now clearer than ever. It's that big countries can impose their will as they deem necessary on smaller countries. Sees troublesome leaders, italics, sees natural resources like Venezuelan oil. This is for Donny a new imperial order. Claudio.
Well, yes, it is. It is indeed. I personally am, as you can imagine, very happy with the capture of Nicolás
Maduro. Really? Why does that surprise me there, Claudia? Yeah. Come on, tell me.
And because he was a vile tyrant who made his people suffer in a terrible manner. And yes, I know many Venezuelans because I used to live in Madrid at a time when they were coming to Madrid in masses evading the tyranny of Maduro. And it was heartbreaking to see how the pain that he had imposed on his people, the tortures on opposition leaders. It was really terrible. So he was no saint at all. I'm not saying that America is saints. I've always been critical of American policy, and especially in the Middle East and the consequences it's had in there. However, what strike me most is the ones who were most protesting against the capture of Maduro has been kind of like very, let's say, anti-capitalist Westerners who have not suffered what the people have suffered in Venezuela. We're talking about the biggest mass exodus in the last century. Over 8 million Venezuelans had to leave their country. They completely destroyed everything. Thousands of political prisoners, tortures, kidnapping. Well, they had the biggest oil reserve in the world. Their people were starving. They had, I remember Venezuelan friends telling me that their parents who stayed behind didn't even have basic medicines. There was no antibiotics. There was no disinfectants. Yet the Chavista leaders lived like Rockefeller, they're in absolute opulence. With Rolexes, imported cars. It's always, they say, oh no, it's due to the American sanctions that there's no medicines or that there's no foods in the supermarket. But it's funny how those sanctions never affect the elite. They live in their compounds with their hammers and their iPhones, etc., etc. It's always the same story, same as in Cuba. The supposed embargo is only for the poor, not for the elite. They don't suffer the embargo. They miraculously seem to be able to escape it and live in absolute opulence. So yeah, I think most Venezuelans were celebrating. I'm not saying that Trump, of course he has his oil interests, but but the funny thing is, all these kind of like very liberal activists didn't care about Venezuelan oil all these years when Iran, China, Cuba were getting it for free. They were giving their oil for free while their people were starving, while there was no electricity most of the time, while the hospitals looked like...
Just a quick one. Just while you take a breath, Claudio. Yeah. Is Claudio talking about talking about the Maduro regime or the PSOE? I mean, are you talking about?
Well, yeah, it's the
way we're heading.
But yeah, the Maduro and the Cuban regime. Cuba was already invaded. They talk now about an invasion. Venezuela has been invaded by Iranian agents, Cuban agents. Especially the Cuban agents. They're the ones who ran all the intelligence. They're the ones, all his Praetorian Guard were all Cuban. So Venezuela hasn't been a sovereign country for many, many years. But now it seems that, of course, because the United States came in, I'm not saying whether it was legal or not. That's not for me to judge whether it was legal or not. But then again, we can't forget that Trump, one can criticize him, but he isn't the only leader who has pushed for regime change. Let's not forget Gaddafi when Obama participated in overthrowing him in Libya. Let's not forget when Obama also led the operation that killed Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. So it's not like if Trump was the only evil and the rest were all saints. American policy has always been interventionist. We all know that. They have always pushed for regime changes, which I've always said I have many of the times not agreed with, because I think that those countries were actually better off with their dictators, unfortunately, like Libya and Saddam, and Libya was better off with Gaddafi, and Iraq was better off with Saddam Hussein. It's awful to say, but they had some type of stability.
Yeah, but I mean, there's countries, I mean, now that you mention Libya, there's countries that were forced to become a democracy when they had no tradition of democracy whatsoever. They didn't even have political parties.
Exactly.
And one of the things here in Venezuela, and I think that's why they kept the status quo as it is that the opposition, most of the opposition, they live outside of Venezuela. They can't live in Venezuela because they get arrested and tortured. So to arm a political sort of the different parties and the different structures is going to take time. So you can't do it overnight. There's no representation in the towns and in the villages and everything of different political parties. Maduro is a dictator. He was a dictator. Well, I mean, it's just as a regime doesn't allow freedom of speech. So you can't organize an election in 2 weeks. And when these organize an election, the funny thing of these that even creating 5 million voters that don't exist in the polls, yeah, because that's what Chavez did when he got to power. He created 5 million people who voted, nobody knows who they are. So even so, they managed to lose 2 elections. The last 2 elections, Maduro lost it. It's unbelievable, you know. So even so, it's not that easy to get a good cross section of parties and everything in place to face a clean election.
Wouldn't it make more sense for the Americans, like, I don't know, CIA or something, to have a sort of like a skeleton regime to go into place? I mean, they've trained up people, you know, the exiles, so they could bring in government ministers to take over from the very top. So you could already have you know, the basics to be sort of flown in there? Or do you think the situation with the general, because it's a general heavy government there, they got to sort of play it right?
I think they have to be careful with the army, because the army is still loyal to the regime for the reasons we mentioned before Claudio arrived in his magnificent entrance. Is that the army in this corruption triangle that Venezuela has been standing on? The army have been key on you know, with the money and everything else. So you have to be careful not to upset the army, because that could, you know, end up in a civil war. And America certainly doesn't want that if they want to get their hands on the oil.
Exactly. They have to be extremely careful with this transition, because we're coming from a country that's been 25 years managed by
mismanaged.
Yes, exactly. Mismanaged by a group of soldiers loyal to Maduro, and one of the biggest. They have more generals than the United States, which is
2,000 generals or something like that. Right,
exactly.
Those bongos mean that we come to the end of the first half of Let's Talk Back with a full complement after the national and international news.
Talk Radio Europe.
Your voice in Spain. Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe. Giles Brown. Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
Always live, always lively. Viewpoint, the first one of 2026. I'm joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo and Claudio de Torre. We're talking all things to do with Venezuela at the moment, and also perhaps looking at Greenland as well. Should Colombia, should Mexico, should we all be worried? Should you wish to get involved and get your threepence in? These are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
And it's to some of the WhatsApps and the Facebook posts. Right, we got a poll going on our Facebook page, which is Talk Radio Official, and I'm asking the questions: Do you think do you think? The US actions in Venezuela signify a more aggressive foreign policy, and should Europe and other Central and South American nations be concerned? And 88% of you think yes, we should be concerned. 12% of you think no. To the WhatsApps, good morning. How much oil? So, okay, Claudio confuses a regime change with a takeover. It's no difference to the British and French in the Middle East, to be fair. Donny is a wannabe a dictator. They've replaced like with like. How much oil do they need? They've attacked Nigeria the other day. Iran is on the cards too. Iraq has been ransacked previously. Greenland on the agenda for minerals. Yeah, all invaded under the illusion that he's freeing democracy or helping Christians or some other BS rationale. So, a variety of points made with that one. Looking at the I mean, let's get away. We've pretty much talked about Venezuela, and I just like the thing about, is he talking about Maduro or is he talking about Sanchez? I thought that was quite interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the European response. I mean, they've been very guarded, the European nations, in their response vis-a-vis Venezuela, because obviously people have been playing. But should there be Trump saying the other day that, they need, all waking up in the news feeds this morning, they need to annex Greenland, quote unquote, right now. If you are in Nuuk, capital of Greenland, then 100,000 inhabitants, then you are going to be more a little bit worried about, the sound of. You see, Andres, you're just shaking your head like, nah, come on.
No, I don't see the Greenland thing, to be honest. The Greenland is part of Denmark, so Denmark is part of NATO. It would be a bad move to sort of invade Greenland or take over Greenland. The only thing that Greenland has got is the population of Greenland. They do want to be independent from Denmark. Maybe I don't know, but I cannot see the excuse of geographically touching Canada and Alaska and everything else. It doesn't really stand because for that same reason, Gibraltar should be Spanish. So the geography doesn't enter into it. It's the sovereignty of the place. Also, the Greenland is not run by a tyrant that is, destroying the country and destroying the people in the country, like the case of Maduro. So I think it's a different.
The comments coming whether Greenland, quote unquote, this is Richard coming back in again saying whether Greenland is part of Denmark or not is irrelevant. Donny doesn't follow laws of convention, and at the moment it stands at 11. There's an 11% chance that Trump will acquire Greenland before 2027. That's in Polymarket's polls. I mean, do you think we should all be, we should all be selling shares in our Danish companies or whatever else in our portfolios, Sandra?
Well, I would obviously condemn any occupation, invasion, intervention in Denmark, as I think it would be completely unnecessary and counterproductive. But regarding Venezuela, I think a lot of people don't realize how they've destabilized the whole Latin American region, because it's not only what happens inside Venezuela, it's the 8 million migrants and the huge pressure it's put on neighboring countries, especially poorer countries like Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, who have had to accommodate all those people. It's the criminal networks that they've infiltrated in the whole of Latin America, the Tren de Aragua, who have gone into the United States, who have kidnapped, who have stolen, who have raped. They've done terrible things. And also, it's a huge geopolitical move. This is going to change the whole world, not only Venezuela, because we're talking about all the oil market, how China is, who's the main customer. We can say customer because they give them the oil nearly for free to Venezuela. Well, their people have had to wait long queues just to fill up their cars. And they've been for decades giving practically free oil to Iran, China, etc. So if the American companies do get back in there, I hope that money can be used to stabilize Venezuela's economy. And I think Venezuela could recuperate very quickly because they're not a war-torn country. They do have certain infrastructure, even if it's been crumbling, but they could recover quite quickly with foreign investment, like Panama did recover quite quickly. That's my hope for Venezuela, that it can be like Panama, following the US.
Andrea is nodding enthusiastically.
Not enthusiastically, but I mean, I think the jurisprudence for the extraction of Maduro is the ones that they want to use with Noriega. And what Claudia said is absolutely right. Panama flourished economically after Noriega was got out of the place, and you cannot recognize Panama these days to when the narcos were running the country. So he's right on what he just said. That's why I was nodding, Giles.
And if you think about places like Cartagena de Indias, which is just across the border in Colombia, on the Caribbean Sea, and what a tourist place that is, and the investment you've seen there, and then you think favorite place in the world, Margarita Island in Venezuela. I mean, avoid Punto Fijo because that's obviously a big oil refinery, but there's the investment potential.
Incredible. Venezuela is one of the most beautiful and biodiverse countries in the world. It has some of the best beaches, the best nature, beautiful rainforests, amazing.
Have you been there,
geography? I haven't been, but I've seen many documentaries about it, so I've been able to see aerial views of Venezuela, which are incredible. And
I've heard it on Twitter.
Yeah, I'd love to go indeed. But Venezuela could be one of the biggest tourist destinations in Latin America if there's stability, because the possibilities are absolutely endless. And it's been ransacked. That oil that was supposed to be to develop Venezuela has been used to finance other regimes around the world. So I do think the Venezuelan people, which are amazing people, deserve stability. They deserve to recuperate their country, to be reunited with their families. So many families have been torn apart. Many have died and they haven't been able to go back to see their families. And it's really tragic. So I really do hope that the Venezuelan people will be able to be happy ever after.
I think basically, Claudia, you're going standing as president for Venezuela, I think, after that thing. Thank you, Eamon, by the way. Happy New Year. Eamon's just bought me a cup of tea, which is very nice. And, we talk about, the thing is, though, if the generals or whoever's running the show at the moment in Venezuela don't play ball with Rubio, with Hesketh, with Donald Trump, I mean, they've said we'll go back in. I mean, do you think they could go back in? Do you think that international condemnation, or they're just going to go Yabu sucks and like those exact words? Because we've done it before, we'll do it again. Flip around and find out, as the saying goes. Andreas.
Well, I don't think. I think they're going to fall in line with the United States, because Delcy Rodriguez is the most the wicked and false and two-faced person in the whole of South America, I would say. She's a dreadful woman, and she's just saving face to Maduro, saying, "Oh, I want proof of life" and everything. When that was completely unnecessary anyway. And she's just sworn alliance to the United States to do whatever the United States want to do. It's a woman you cannot trust, and I'm sure she will do what the United States want. And I won't be surprised if eventually, in months, maybe a year or so, the country is called to a more fair general election, where the opposition parties, once they are organized inside Venezuela, they can concur and then can take over.
Do you think there's any? I mean, Maduro was obviously, he had his court appearance with his wife in New York yesterday. Obviously, huge media circus outside. they have to be presumably the Americans are going to have to be very, very careful not to have, if you like, a show trial. I mean, he's saying I'm an innocent man, etc., etc.
They all say that.
Yeah.
What are you going to say to the judge? I'm guilty. Please send me to life imprisonment. Of course he's going to say he's
Well, I think that Maduro and his wife should be very thankful to the United States. That Maduro and his wife should be thankful to the United States because they've received a permanent green card.
But if you can't go anywhere apart from a penitentiary, that's not an awful. You're getting life imprisonment.
Life in prison. Exactly. They've received life in prison. Well,
they haven't
yet. They haven't. Thank you. They haven't yet. But however, this is going to have huge repercussions in the rest of Latin America because there's something that the media don't talk about, something extremely crucial in Latin America, and it's called the Foro de Sao Paulo. And the Foro de Sao Paulo was a forum that was created by Fidel Castro in the 1970s that englobes all his aligned left-wing revolutionary...
So
Nicaragua, Cuba, but also Lula... the Kirchners, all the left-wing governments in Latin America are aligned with the Foro de Sao Paulo, which is a group that was created, as I said, by Castro and later financed by Chavez and after by Nicolás Maduro.
And this say that money is going to be coming out from because that money's not coming out of Valencia. That's out of Venezuela. That's coming out of.
So originally that was supported financially by the USSR.
Yeah, exactly. So this group is a very powerful group because it englobes all the communist, leftist, non-aligned countries in Latin America. And this group has been financed mostly by Venezuelan oil and drug trafficking. And there's a very important figure called Hugo El Pollo Carvajal, who was the head...
If only we had the website when he said that.
He plays for Fulham.
Exactly. He was the head of the Bolivian intelligence. He was the head of the Servicio Bolivariano de Inteligencia, so he knows a lot, and he was first arrested in Spain and then extradited, and he's already started grassing on all the officials and revealing all the connections and how they finance campaigns with narco money in Argentina. Lula da Silva also, let's not forget Lula da Silva only 6 months ago he welcomed Nicolás Maduro in Brasilia and said we have to accept Maduro again into the group. Basically he's a victim, so Lula has always been a supporter of Chavez and Maduro who have oppressed the people. Lula pretends he's a Democrat and that he defends human rights. That's an absolute farce. He doesn't. And it's interesting to see how the huge geopolitical repercussions this is going to have, not only in Latin America, but in the Middle East and China.
One thing that strikes me, gentlemen, all right, after both of your impassioned speeches there, is the fact that in South America there is no middle ground, is there? It seems to be sort of one side or the other, and 100%. There's no there's no liberal.
You have to think that in the last decades, South America has been controlled largely by these lot. So you've got the Kirchners in Argentina. They were there for a long time.
And before that was
and then you've had it in Chile, you had it, and you see the shift now that they go and with Milei in Argentina, with the recent elections in Chile, where the right wing party have won. They call it extreme right. He's not. I mean, just before the election, they were calling, Pinochet is coming. I said, really? I mean, this is a joke. He's not. It's just like a right wing politician. So it's been a shift from the socialist pro-communist leaders to a conservative neoliberal, because that is people there they've had it really tough with high inflation, impoverished in most countries and everything. So they wanted to change to see if, from a different perspective, lives could change and be better. So now time will tell if that change is productive or not. But it seems to me that at the moment, a case like Argentina, after 2 years of government of Milei, on the midterm elections, he won it comfortably, so that sends a message that the majority of people seem to be satisfied with.
And we do have to say that the conservatives in Latin America are just as corrupt as the left wing, because they're all extremely corrupt in Latin America. Corruption is just in their blood. It's the air you breathe is corrupt. In every single aspect of life, corruption is omnipresent. So it's not to say that the right wing in Latin America are the best, that they manage the country greatly, and that there's no, and that they're that's not true. The only difference is that, for example, there's, let's say, centre-left like Lula, who I don't agree with, but he hasn't oppressed his people, even if we don't agree with his policies. He hasn't tortured. However, he has supported Maduro. He did cry at Fidel's funeral, like if his wife, more than when his wife passed away. He seemed more sad when Fidel had passed away than when his wife did, which is a bit crazy. But I just hope that in Latin America, they just need a cultural change. It's not only political, it's cultural. And the big cancer is the drugs, because the drugs are the ones who move the violence. Latin America is the most violent continent on earth, with the highest murder rates, and all of that is moved by the drugs. And also drug users who are fueling, they're not only destroying themselves, they're also fueling violence and destruction in Latin America.
Yeah, that's coming from the States, though. So if it wasn't,
it's interesting the support that Maduro has had, apart from the Kirchners and Lula da Silva and everything. But a great supporter of Maduro over the years has been Zapatero, the ex-president in Spain, high member of the Socialist Party. The Socialist Party has been a great supporter of Maduro, which just strikes me as crazy, but this is the truth. They've been supporting. And also, it was said at the time, although it hasn't been proved, but I still believe this is the case, that Podemos, which is a communist party in Spain, was originally funded with Venezuelan money.
Podemos isn't the communist party in Spain. It is a left-leaning party in Spain. It's not the communist party in Spain.
It is the communist party. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean,
for example, Yolanda Diaz, who is actually in Sumar. Sumar is a coalition party. Yolanda Diaz is member of the Spanish Communist Party. So the vice president of Spain is member of the Communist Party. Podemos is not socialist. They are not. They're not in the International Socialist League. They are in the. They are with the extreme left. They have always Juan Carlos Monedero, founder of Podemos. He's in Venezuela at the moment. He's been financed by Maduro. Paulo Iglesias, in the beginning of his when Podemos was founded, he always openly defended Maduro. They gave him money for his TV programs. They funded him. So they are. For example, Felipe González, he's been great. He's been a defender of democracy in Venezuela. He's supported Maria Corina Machado. However, Zapatero has always been a defender of Maduro for pure interest.
Now,
Delcy Rodriguez, the now president of Venezuela, she used to call Zapatero mi príncipe, and she used to beam when she saw him and kissed him and hugged him. Like it's official that he's been in Zapatero, in the last 10 years, he's been to Venezuela over 40 times. Imagine 40 trips he's made to Venezuela. So, he likes the arepas and the weather and the beautiful women there.
So, meanwhile, this coming good honest guest today, saying it as it is, no left-wing, lily-livered, wokey rubbish. Oh, Giles, your liberal left-leaning niceness has let the team down today. Well, you know, I'll get on my soapbox and start singing the Internationale in a minute. If drugs were legalised, there'd be no criminal drug profits. Therefore, drug cartels would have no motivation, and a lot of hardship would disappear overnight. Now you're veering to alternative factors. It suits Andres to state that Podemos are communist. Farcical. The whole continent of South America is corrupt. It's pure chatarra. So those are the thoughts on that. Quick break, and then back with more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. First one of 2026. If you want to get your viewpoint across, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Don't forget, following this show will be Stephen Ritson with Europe Today, and then Selena is live with TRE in the afternoon, and Selena live with the Lifestyle Show, then Hannah with TRE in the afternoon, before Spain Today with Harry Brighton, and then a repeat of this show between 7 and 9. Richard is up and running, saying on the 19th of August 2024, Spanish far-right union Manos Limpias filed a complaint with the ICC against former Prime Minister Jose Rodriguez Zapatero, otherwise known as Mr. Bean, accusing him of being a collaborator. If you know what he looks like, you know why Andres is laughing. With the Maduro administration. According to the said complaint, Zapatero would have received the rights to operate a gold mine in Venezuela. However, no evidence of this has been made public. Zapatero himself dismissed the allegations as surreal. Meanwhile, if drugs are legalised, where to next? Underage marriages, etc., etc. Domino effect. Okay. Meanwhile, Paul from the People's Republic of Manilva. Great show as always. No, thank you very much. Sanchez is delighted about what's going on in Venezuela because it distracts from attentions from a short time from him and his cronies stealing money from the Spanish people. In a couple of years, Ciudadanos and Podemos will both be completely forgotten. I think Ciudadanos has gone.
Don't think that we've forgotten about Sanchez and his cronies and all his court cases and everything else. It will come back. We have a Christmas break on that, but it will come back. We haven't forgotten about that. But it was quite interesting when I was listening to Claudio. How
it's always quite interesting to Claudio. Let's be honest.
Here in Spain, this euphemism that we use when they talk about Podemos and Sumar and all these left-wing parties, they call it the left to the left of the Socialist Party. It's just a euphemism to say
to the left of the Socialist Party.
The left to the left of the Socialist Party. They don't call it the extreme left, but when it comes to the right, and they talk about Vox, straight away they said, "Oh, the ultraderecha, the ultra, the extreme right, and everything."
They are.
So. I'm not saying they're not, but why don't they call the left extreme left the same way they call Vox the extreme right? Extrema izquierda, ultra
extreme left and extreme right. We can use those terms.
But that euphemism of saying the left to the left of the Socialist Party, I find it ridiculous. But all the media outlets in Spain use it. It's unbelievable.
It's called the Beyonce Prince Protocol. To the left, to the left. Now, I think we can. This coming in on WhatsApp. I think we can all agree that Maduro and his wife are despicable individuals who needed to be brought to some sort of trial for the terrible things they did. However, there is surely no justification for ICE agents, I'm not sure, parading them around New York, seated facing the open doors of the prison van. Is that what America has become now? No better than the Hamas terrorists that we all rightly condemn for doing the same thing to October the 7th hostages. Meanwhile, Podemos.
In Spanish, that's called curling the curl.
Curling the curl, isn't it?
Yeah, to make it even more difficult.
Yeah. Right. Podemos is a left-wing to far-left political party. Okay, thanks very much for that. So, 28 minutes to go in this morning's Viewpoint if you want to get your viewpoint across.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Right then. We're having. We're not. No, we're not talking about. Okay, Maduro and P. Diddy apparently are sharing not a cell, but that was the whole. They were held briefly in the high security thing. My internet feed has been full of memes about oil. Let's not even go there. No. Ruined my Christmas Eve dinner, did P. Diddy, because my goddaughters, who are 14 and 18, decided they want the perfect thing to talk about at Christmas dinner was the P. Diddy trial. And it was like, please, God, no. It's supposed to be a Christmas thing. It's important. It's world news. It's like, look, I do a Tuesday show. Trust me. I don't want to talk about anything to do. Can't we just talk about, how nice the Christmas tree looks? Right. So,
the quite interesting thing that I think was mentioned by one of your writers there, your messages, is that in the months to come, I think we're going to see the name of Zapatero coming out more and more often because of the links to the regime in Venezuela. And
I just thought he disappeared. I thought he disappeared quietly and gone and made a fortune on the Mr. Bean circuit.
This is what amazes me.
Oh, that's again, Claudia. If only we had the webcam at the moment. Your face, blimey. No. This is quite amazing.
Okay, Let me tell you the story.
Set the scene quickly.
Okay.
Right.
So Zapatero was the president. In my opinion, it was the worst president ever in Spain. He saw the crisis in 2007 and 2008 and destroyed the country to the point he lost the election to a majority to Rajoy, who followed him. The guy left power in complete disgrace as a total useless prime minister, him and all his team. Suddenly resurfaces as the guiding moral and, sort of flagship of the Socialist Party everywhere. He's everywhere. And now what we're going to see, and he's been very, very involved with Maduro. He's been really involved in that. And, evidence are coming through now through the journalist investigators there, just with all the links that he's had with the regime, how he has mediate to rescue an airline had to do with Venezuela, with public money from Spanish taxpayers and everything else. All this is just starting to come out, and there is more to come. Watch it in the next few months. You'll see how the name of Zapatero is going to be more and more prominent in the papers. Not only that, but he's been called to be investigated in the Senate of Spain, and he has to be answering questions to the senators in all of those things he's involved in. Watch the name of Zapatero.
I always thought Zapatero was like the mild-mannered one who'd gone off and that was he was going to potter around, I don't know, with his garden gnome collection or something like that. Absolutely not. No. It just shows you that's what you need. Ex-prime ministers like Aznar, of course, who just potter around Guadalmina and play bad golf, basically.
Yeah, he plays paddle now.
Does he play? Oh well, therefore it's due. But I mean. I'm actually sort of right. Spain's worst prime minister was Francisco Franco. No, he wasn't, because he wasn't a prime minister.
He wasn't a prime minister. Zapatero and Sanchez are both allies. Zapatero, we could say, is the godfather of Sanchez. He's his political mentor and leader. Absolutely. And in the last 8 years, the involvements of Zapatero and Sanchez with the criminal Venezuelan regime have been huge. Right. It all started when Delcy Rodriguez, the now caretaker president, manager, arrived in Barajas International Airport illegally when she was sanctioned by the European Union, and she still is, for human rights abuses in Venezuela. And from then onwards, all the negotiations with Venezuela continued. Victor Daldama, who is a businessman who was involved with Zapatero, has now spoken about the commissions that they received. Also, the Plus Ultra airline, that is owned by a Chavista, got 50 million euros of public help when that airline is completely insignificant in Spain. That airline just had a few old aeroplanes, and that airline is now being investigated. The rescate, the rescue of that airline, the bailouts is being investigated by the courts of being completely illegal, and that they gave money illegally to Plus Ultra, which is owned by a Chavista businessman. So now everything is coming out, absolutely everything.
Surely Chavista businessman's got to be an oxymoron. Richard still believes that. Okay. We're telling you now that, Richard is telling us that we need to be re-educated because Richard is claiming that, according to Wikipedia, Franco was Prime Minister of Spain on several occasions.
No, don't read Wikipedia. Franco wasn't a Prime Minister. Franco appointed the Prime Minister because he was we called him the Generalissimo. He was a general, so it's just like all the power came through him. He appointed a prime minister.
Generalissimo, Franco, took office, left office, took office. This is not, the power to be educated.
He didn't take off. I mean, I don't know what he's reading there, but I mean,
I'm not claiming anything. It's a fact. Right. Okay. All right then.
Is it an alternative fact?
Yes, right. I'm going to do one more of these. Andres, are you going to?
I'm going to have to leave you guys. I'm really sorry. I have to dash. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you to the listeners for listening. And Happy New Year to you all. And Happy Reyes, which is the Three Kings that I'm sure it brought presents to all of you this morning.
Did you get the little almond or the little figurine of I'm
going to get it this afternoon.
Maduro.
Oh, no, Maduro.
If you're going to hide somewhere, Roscoe is probably a good place to hide. Andres, thanks so much for your time today. Going to take a quick break and then back for the last 20 minutes of this morning's Viewpoint.
Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe with Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. Claudia TRE and myself now watching Rodriguez being sworn in last night in Caracas, looking slightly apprehensive, as I think you probably say. We've got a poll going on our Facebook page, which is saying, do you think that the US actions in Venezuela signify more aggressive foreign policy, and should Europe and other Central and South American nations be concerned? 87% of you think that we should be concerned. 13% of you think that they should not be concerned. What do you think that Sanchez's reaction is going to be like then to this? He wants
to lead the European response. And he's the one who has most condemned this action. And he wants to use it, of course, to his political advantage, like he did with Israel and the conflict with Gaza. He wants to kind of lead the response, and it's perfect for him because he's very opportunistic, and he wants to use this as a perfect to try and change public opinion and distract from all the imminent court cases of his wife, brother, ministers, etc., etc. So he wants to kind of be the European leader who is going to fight against Trump, and who's going to use this to kind of say, this is against international law. It maybe is. I'm not going to say it's not. However, he has not all of these years he has not condemned the Maduro regime. Of course, he didn't recognize it because that would have been too much for a European country to recognize Maduro. But the socialists in the European Parliament were the only groups not to. They've constantly been boycotting resolutions for democracy in Venezuela, which is very weird. So I think they are very concerned. Indeed, they are very concerned because if the truth starts coming out and there's revelations, they are going to be concerned. Even his Maduro. The thing is, Bildu, which is the Basque,
who he infamously cut a deal with.
They are complete followers of Maduro. Bildu, whose leader is Arnaldo Otegi, a convicted ETA terrorist, is a very pro-Maduro because they are ETA terrorists hiding in Venezuela. They are over 10 ETA terrorists that are escaping Spanish justice in Venezuela. So, of course, if the regime collapses, those terrorists are going to lose protection and they face extradition to Spain, including the worst of all, Iñaki de Juana Chaos, who is accused of killing 25 people with a bomb in Madrid. So we're talking about very, very serious.
It's a supermarket bombing that took place in Madrid. Yeah. Back. To the lines we go. 952-78-4000. Morning, caller. You're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Good morning, Giles. Margaret here from Estepona.
Morning, Margaret.
Just to say to Andres, don't forget as well that Zapatero is very, very metido in Venezuela. Even his daughters have businesses there. So probably a lot of that will come out. And Sanchez is Zapatero's man.
So, yeah, okay. Thank you very much for that one. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for the call in there. Yeah, this one goes... I mean, this gives the opportunity, isn't it, for Sanchez to sort of play the Iberian Peninsula card, the historic links between South America and Spain, more so than... Because if you're a domestic politician and you have problems at home, as we are seeing with Trump, you could argue with this one, taking these actions, then nothing diverts attention more from your domestic trouble than being a big player on the world stage. So for somebody like Sanchez at the moment, again... Will we see a budget in 2026? Who knows? But what we're saying here is that obviously it's much easier for him to take a stand, be seen as this is a job of this is the only job that I can do to get involved, etc., and deflect from his Teflon reputation continues. Claudio,
indeed, yes, especially when we have now 3 regional elections where the Socialist Party risk a lot. They already lost in Extremadura a few weeks ago with the worst result in the democratic history of Extremadura. The Sanchez candidate was battered, absolutely battered. And when we're talking about Extremadura, a region that has been traditionally a socialist bastion, a real bastion. 3 years ago, they had an absolute majority there. But of course, the candidate who got the absolute majority was anti-Sanchez, Mr. Fernandez Barra. May he rest in peace, a great man, always warned about the consequences of Sanchez's policies and his allies with anti-Spanish and terrorist supporters, etc. He was a great man, Fernandez Barra, a real traditional socialist who really was a great man, and Sanchez
understood the culture of socialism, the old style in Spain.
Exactly, the old
Felipe González style.
Felipe González style, very open-minded, always wanted dialogue with different parties. He really believed that the separatists wanted supremacy, and they wanted to take the money, all the money, just for them, and not. It was a selfish political movement who just wanted to hoard everything for them. And yes, I think it's just proves that when you have a Sanchez candidates are going to receive a battering. Now Pilar Alegría, who was a minister of Sanchez up to a month ago in Aragon, at the end of January there's going to be elections, and they're also expecting a huge battering.
To the lines we go again. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Morning, Giles. Peter again.
Hi, Peter.
Hi. just listening to your guest there talk about Claudio, yes. South America as a whole being so corrupt and violent and whatnot. The way I see this, because this isn't, I don't think it's a one-off. Trump has a vision of the world. Him and whoever is around him, they have a vision, and they're going to try their damnedest to bring this vision to fruition. And what we're not looking at, and I think what's coming next, and listening to what you were saying about South America, as far as I'm concerned, Europe isn't a lot different. And we all know the corruption in Europe. We all know how it works. We all know they've never signed off their books. We all know that they're chucking money at other countries to come and join them. And where all that money comes from, a lot of it is corrupt. And if you recall, Trump, a few weeks ago, I think it was, he described Europe as facing civilizational erasure.
I remember that. Yes, that quote. Yes, erasure.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of a fractured Europe at the moment. We have a few what people would label right wing, and I think Trump and whoever it is that's around Trump will favour these nations over the next year or two before the elections, and he will definitely try to fracture Europe. I think he'll go after Europe and he'll try to change Europe, and maybe the time is right, because Europe has become this warmongering, expansionist continent. And going back to the doctrine of the Monroe Doctrine, Europe, maybe Spain is, but most of Europe, Eastern Europe, is not. So if he's dividing it all back up and giving Xi and Putin their share and taking the world back to where it was, then Europe needs to be divided, changed, fractured, call it what you want. But I think Europe has become too powerful, and it's not working. It's part of the globalist thing that is obviously not working, and that's why the world is changing at the moment. So you heard it here first. I think Europe will be in trouble in the next year or two, and for those of us that earn in pounds and spend in euros, it won't be a bad thing.
So the thing is, I mean, as I said before, Europe will find itself very much in between a rock and a hard place at the moment, because they haven't got the power base and the economic, military power because of, you've got the, as I said, we've got Russia, we've got China, and we've got the Americans, and that is the situation we find ourselves in at the moment.
Exactly, and I do believe when people saying it doesn't affect Trump or Xi, I mean, Putin, they've been getting cheap oil for a long, long time. And once Venezuela starts pumping out 850,000 barrels a day, but it goes back up to 3 million barrels a day, oil comes down. Already it went under $60 a barrel yesterday. I think it's in the 59s. I've not checked it this morning, but the driver of inflation is oil. So who knows, a year or two before Trump, hopefully someone will follow in his footsteps as a Trumpite or Trumpism or Trumpinism, whatever you want to call it. But hopefully Europe will be put back in their little box, and we have the three superpowers. They will agree to disagree and stay out of each other's way. Oil will be this pretense of global warming and the money that's being spent and wasted on that. And maybe we can get back to some sort of normality. But I don't think this is just a one-off thing for Trump. This is him. He came in office to change the world, and he is changing the world. Like it or lump it, he's changing the world. And I think there's a lot more to come. And I think Europe's next. I think he'll start going after some of these countries in Europe. So it'll certainly be defending the ones that are being labelled as right and troublemakers, that's for sure. And it takes one to go. So.
Thank you very much for your call in there, Peter. Right then, you heard it here first, as the saying goes. You heard it here first, indeed. Looking at some other bits and pieces coming in. What else have we got? Excuse me. There we go. Pedro Sanchez here's some betting for you. Pedro Sanchez out of Prime Minister Spain by. Did we think he's going to be out by 30th of June? 20% chance. This year, this is 2026, or 31st, i.e. this time almost next year, 38%. He's not going to go in. How did Vox do in Extremadura? Was it a Partido Popular win then?
Yes, Partido Popular were 3 seats away from an absolute majority. No, 4. Sorry, they got 29, and and the majority was 33. So, yes, Partido, the biggest, let's say, winners were Vox. They got because they improved their representation considerably. And I just think it's a protest vote also because there are many people. Extremadura is a very rural, forgotten area of Spain. It's one of the poorest regions of Spain. They've been abandoned by the mainstream parties for many decades.
Traditionally, the conquistadores came from Extremadura because it was like anywhere. The clues in the name Extremadura.
Extremadura, Pizarro, Cortés. Most of the conquerors came from there. A fantastic region, incredible people, culture, gastronomy, very underrated. And however, they've been abandoned for many years. And it's very sad because it's a region that could be extremely rich. But of course, politically, it's not been interesting for any of the...
Somewhat like Venezuela, you could argue.
Yeah, exactly.
952 78 4000 is the phone number. studio@tre.radio is the email.
The Remix, a recap of the best interviews of the week.
I always find that people's purpose is to make money, just money and fame.
I didn't want to have to leave that just so that I could be out as a lesbian, or so that I could with people who understand that women should be allowed to drive if they want to.
The philosophical question is usually, do we have free will or not? I would rather say yes, of course we do, in the sense that we have some capacity for behavioral control, but it's constrained by things.
The Remix, a recap of the best interviews of the week. Tune in Saturdays and Sundays from 2 p.m. on TRE.
This, for example, this little sound here is the sound of snapping shrimp, which is actually 130 decibels of noise. They're the loudest creatures on Earth, pound for pound. That's rock concert loud under the water.
That's Deep Purple, hey? What? On Let's Talk, we discuss topics that will make you think out of the box.
World Health Organization panel, which declared processed meats. It can't have been any worse. It was listed alongside tobacco, radiation, asbestos.
Join me, Giles Brown, on Let's Talk, but bring an open mind. Weekdays from 10 a.m, except Tuesdays, here on TRE.
The thing about listening is that it's a skill. It's not a capability. Hearing is a capability. Listening is a skill.
Spain Today is our news roundup of all things Spanish that matter to you, and expanding your horizons on the delights, desires and destinations of this wonderful country.
Spain Today, presented by Howard Brereton.
With regular items on business, culture, health, gastronomy and sport, Spain Today is different every day, from 6 p.m. Monday to Friday on TRE.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Let's go into the last, 3 minutes of this morning's Viewpoint. Doesn't time fly when you're having Viewpoint? I've been asking on the Talk Radio Europe Official Facebook page. Don't forget to check it out as well for news stories and whatever during the day. I've been asking the question with the poll: do you think that the US actions in Venezuela signify a more aggressive American foreign policy, and should Europe and other Central and South American nations be concerned? At the final vote, 86% of you said that it does. We should be concerned. 14% said no, which is an interesting one. So thank you for voting in that one as well. Don't forget you can check out what's going on via our Talk Radio Europe website, which is tre.radio. You should be able to listen to most of the shows from the past 7 days, including this show, which will be repeated, of course, at 7 o'clock this evening. And you can listen to it for your own thing. Sam says, reasonable show today, chaps. Thank you very much for that. Meanwhile, Richard, the driver of inflation is not Donald Trump. Donny has a vision, much like he did in Atlantic City, and that went bankrupt multiple times. Richard does not believe that Europe has become more powerful. The driver of inflation is not oil. Oil prices have been going down for much of 2024, yet inflation is up. Explain that one. Meanwhile, of course, people have been getting involved in gold. Gary has come on saying some would say that your show today was like a Nuremberg rally, but I liked it. Thank you very much indeed. If you get the chance, go and watch the film. That's one of my, I was going to say it's part of my Christmas list, but we're now into my post Three Kings list. Looking at some other bits and pieces, UK Cabinet Minister said that global security and its rules-based system are disintegrating before our very eyes. It says the US capture of the Venezuelan Prime Minister, President Nicolas Maduro, and Donald Trump's fresh threats to seize Danish territory, Greenland. This is how it's actually retreating. So walking against destabilizing NATO. So as the saying goes, may you live in interesting times. Claudio, if you have a mission, we've only got 1 minute and 29 left. If you have a mission statement to give to the listeners here on about your thoughts of 2026, more of the same. Is it going to? I mean, should we be booking holidays to Colombia or Mexico in the near future, or even take that whale watching trip to Greenland without having the sound of American boots marching towards us across the snow?
It's going to be a fascinating year geopolitically, because the implications of what happens in Venezuela is going to have an echo all around the globe, believe it or not. It is. And for Greenland, I just very much hope that there's no intervention, as that would be terrible, that another NATO country occupies a territory of a NATO and European Union member. So let's hope that it's just a fantasy of Donnie and that it doesn't actually materialize.
And even more interesting, we can watch the return of Zapatero to our screens. I think that's a Christmas gift, a Three Kings gift I wasn't expecting. I thought he disappeared to play golf, but there you go.
Oh no, he's been very present. He's a very cunning and calculating man. Indeed, and he has known they call him Mr. Bean also.
I know, because he looks like ridiculous. And of course, there's that famous photograph of him at a European council meeting, because he doesn't speak English, and he was famously sitting on his own reading his papers.
Indeed.
While the others were all chatting to each other.
At least Sanchez, we do criticize him, but he speaks English quite well. It helps that he's also from a younger generation, just a bit younger than Zapatero.
Well, anyway, those bongos mean we're out of time. Claudia, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure like always, and I wish everyone a very happy new year.
Stephen Ritson is up next. This show will be repeated at 7 o'clock. Have yourself a great rest of your Tuesday.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.